The 1,000 injuries of Fortunato I had borne as best I could. But when he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge. It must be understood that neither by word nor deed had I given Fortunato cause to doubt my goodwill. I continued, as was my wont, to smile in his face, and he did not perceive that my smile now was at the thought of his destruction. It was about dusk, one evening during the supreme madness of the carnival season, that I encountered my friend. He had been drinking much. I was so pleased to see him that I thought I should never be done wringing his hand. I said to him, "Oh, by the way, my dear Fortunato, I'm glad we've met. I have received a bottle of what passes for Amontillado wine, and I have my doubts." "A pipe of Amontillado? Oh, Montresa, that is impossible. In the middle of the carnival. Amontillado, indeed." "Yes, I was going to ask you to test it for me. But you're busy, so I'm on my way to Lucchese. If anyone has a critical turn, it is he." "Lucchese can't tell Amontillado from sherry." "And yet some fools will have it that his taste is a match for your own." No. Come, let's go to your vaults. I'll tell you whether you have Amontillado or not. Lucchese can't distinguish sherry from Amontillado." Thus speaking, Fortunato took my arm, and we hurried to the archway that led into the vaults beneath my palace. We passed down a long and winding staircase, coming at length to the foot of the descent, and stood together on the damp ground of the catacombs of the Montresors. "Well, Montresa, where's this Amontillado you think you have?" "Oh, it's farther on. But observe the white webwork which gleams from these cavern walls." "Yes, it's nitre. Nitre, isn't it?" "Yes. How long have you had that cough?" "Oh, no, it is nothing." "Come, we'll go back. Your health is precious. You are rich, respected, admired, beloved. You are happy as once I was. You are a man to be missed. For me, it is no matter. We'll go back. You'll be ill, and I can't be responsible. Besides, there's Lucchese." "Enough. The cough is a mere nothing. It won't kill me." True. And indeed, I had no intention of alarming you unnecessarily. But you should use all proper caution here. A draught of this Medoc will defend us from the damp. Here, I knocked off the neck of a bottle, which I drew from a long row of its fellows that lay upon the mold. He raised it to his lips with a leer, and he said, "I drink to the buried that repose around us." "And I drink to your life." The wine sparkled in his eyes as we proceeded. We passed through long halls of piled skeletons with casks and puncheons intermingling into the inmost recesses of the catacombs. I paused again, and this time I seized Fortunato by the arm above the elbow. "The nitre, my dear Fortunato, you see, it increases. It hangs like moss upon the vaults. We are below the river's bed. The drops of moisture trickle among the bones. Come, we'll go back ere it's too late. Your cough..." No, it's nothing. Let's go on. But first, please, another draught of the Medoc, if you don't mind." I broke and handed him a flagon of de Grave. He emptied it in a breath. His eyes flashed with a fierce light. He laughed and threw the bottle upward. At the most remote end of the crypt, there appeared another, less spacious. Its walls had been lined with human remains, piled to the vault overhead in the fashion of the great catacombs of Paris. It was in vain that Fortunato, uplifting his dull torch, endeavored to pry into the depth of the recess. Its termination the feeble light did not enable us to see. I said to him, "Proceed, Fortunato. The Amontillado is in here." My friend stepped unsteadily forward, while I followed immediately at his heels. In an instant, he had reached the extremity of the niche, and finding his progress arrested by the rock, stood stupidly bewildered. In a moment more, and I had chained him to the granite. In its surface were 2 iron staples. Throwing the links of the chain around his waist, it was but the work of a few seconds to lock it. He was too much astounded to resist. Withdrawing the key, I stepped back from the recess, and then I said, "My dear Fortunato, pass your hand over the wall. You can't help feeling the nitre, can you? Indeed, it is very damp. Once more, let me implore you to return." "No? Then I must positively leave you." But, Montresa, the Amontillado." "True, the Amontillado." As I said these words, I busied myself among the pile of bones of which I had just spoken. Throwing them aside, I soon uncovered a quantity of building stone and mortar, which I had placed there earlier. With these materials and with the aid of my trowel, I began to wall up the entrance of the niche. I had scarcely laid the first tier of the masonry when I discovered that the intoxication of Fortunato had in great measure worn off. The earliest indication I had of this was a low, moaning cry from the depth of the recess. It was not the cry of a drunken man. There was then a long and obstinate silence. I laid the second tier, and the third, and the fourth, and then I heard the furious vibrations of the chain. The noise lasted for several minutes, during which, that I might listen to it with the more satisfaction, I ceased my labors and sat down upon the bones. And then at last the clanking subsided. I resumed the trowel and finished without interruption the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh tier. The wall was now nearly upon a level with my breast. I again paused, and holding the torch over the mason work, threw a few feeble rays upon the figure within. It was now midnight, and my task was drawing to a close. I had completed the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th tier. I had finished a portion of the last and the 11th. There remained but a single stone to be fitted and plastered in. I struggled with its weight. I placed it partially in its destined position. But now there came from out the niche a slow laugh that erected the hairs upon my head. It was succeeded by a sad voice which I had difficulty in recognizing as that of the noble Fortunato. The voice said, "A very good joke indeed, an excellent jest. We will have many a rich laugh about it at the palazzo." Yes, over the wine. Yes, over the Amontillado. A very good joke indeed, an excellent jest. But will they not be awaiting us at the palazzo, the Lady Fortunato and the rest? Let us be gone. Yes, let's be gone. For the love of God, Matracer! Yes, for the love of God. But to these words I hearkened in vain for a reply. I grew impatient. I called aloud, "Fortunato!" No answer. "Fortunato!" No answer still. I thrust a torch through the remaining aperture and let it fall within. There came forth in return only a jangling of the chains. My heart grew sick on account of the dampness of the catacombs. I hastened to make an end of the labor. I forced the last stone into its position. I plastered it up. And against the new masonry, I re-erected the old rampart of bones. For the past half a century, no mortal has disturbed them. And pace requiescat.